Okay, it's time, and welcome. Hearty welcome for this session on climate change and workers' health, construction and migrant workers. We have a focus on them. This session is organized by ICOH, International Commission on Occupational Health. I'm sure all of you are aware about ICOH. It is a professional organization, voluntary organization of experts interested in occupational health, safety, ergonomics, occupational hygiene, and all other aspects of occupational health. We have more than 2,000 members from 100 countries.
Association of Immunologists is a professional organization for immunologists, focusing on advancing immunology and public understanding of the...
Yeah. So, I'm Dr. Shyam Pingle. I'm Vice President at International Commission on Occupational Health. And with me is...
Good afternoon. My name is Wonjun Choi from Korea, Gachon University. Now I'm serving as an editor-in-chief of ICOH newsletter.
Thank you. And we have a galaxy of excellent speakers today. And I request all the speakers to take a couple of minutes less than the indicated time and keep those 2 minutes for question answers in the end. We'll have 3 sessions of question answers, and I'll tell accordingly whenever we have them. So I now invite Sung-Kyu Kang, President of International Commission on Occupational Health, to give his introductory remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody, and then dear my fellow ICOH members and then distinguished guests. My name is Sung-Kyu Kang. I'm the president of International Commission on Occupational Health, ICOH, and the professor of Gachon University Gill Medical Center. So when I was asked to organize a symposium during the EXPO, the topic of climate change and workers' health hit in my mind, and because the Osaka, where the migrant workers are working, many migrant working, and the July is the hot and humid time in Osaka. And so we are all experiencing the effect of climate change, and no matter where we are, but it is especially harsh on those working far from home, the migrant workers. And we saw the stark example of this in the tragic deaths of thousands of the Nepali workers in Qatar during the construction of the 2020 World Cup game stadium. But it is not just only case in Qatar. It may happen everywhere in the world. Let me talk about in Korean situation. Last week, a migrant worker died of the heat stroke when he started to work on the first day in Korea. Just a few weeks ago, the regulation to allow the workers to have a rest for 20 minutes after 2 hours work, and if temperature is exceeding 33 Celsius degree, was suspended by the deregulation committee in Korea. So it brought a lot of the social attention, and then the regulation was reviewed again, and it was passed and established. So in this era of the climate change, we must pay close attention to workers' health, especially the health of migrant workers. And today, we will look back at how ICOH was established and explore the scientific evidence on health effect of the climate change, workplace inspection, and the practical case study and policy development. I would like to sincere thanks all of you in the audience for participating in this symposium. Symposium hall is located far away each other, and then if you wanted to participate one to the other, it takes a little time. But then thank you very much for coming here. I also express my deep appreciation to speakers and the chairs who have traveled a long way to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sankyu. The first speaker today is Diana Gagliardi, Secretary General of International Commission on Occupational Health. She is also a senior researcher at NIL at Rome. Diana, please. You have 15 minutes.
Thank you.
Try to finish a little early. So you have 15 minutes.
No, I will take less.
You will take less so that we can have a couple of questions, if any.
Thank you. Thank you and for inviting me to deliver this presentation. So I will just introduce how ICOH was founded more than 100 years ago. And the story of the foundation of ICOH has to do with migrant workers, has to do with not climate change, but with heat stress and very hot and warm and wet working conditions during the construction of the tunnels that were linking Italy to Switzerland. So, as you all know, ICOH is the most ancient occupational health association, scientific organization in occupational health, founded in Milan in 1906 on the occasion of an international expo. So there is a clear and nice link with what we are celebrating and doing here. So the story, as I told you, begins with vulnerable workers, migrants in reality, and in very high-risk sector that is mining and digging underground tunnels with a few illuminated scientists who laid down the basis for occupational health and safety and for occupational health services. In fact, in 1872 and between 1872 and 1882, the construction of the Simplon tunnel the San Gotthard tunnel was realized, connecting Italy to Switzerland, but the workplace was entirely in Switzerland, and 2,000 workers were employed in this excavation work, 94% of which were Italian, so migrant from Italy, 5% Austrian, and only 2% were Swiss. So like what we see now, for example, in the Gulf countries. Working conditions were very clearly at high risk working in the tunnel because the work was organized on 3 8-hour shifts per day. The working conditions were characterized by heat, humidity, dust, darkness, deafening noise, and environmental temperature was between 30 and 40 degrees. But also problematic was the life outside the tunnels, because out of these 2,000 workers, only 150 obtained an accommodation that was official, so an official house. All the others were housed in stables, in barns, in granaries, or in large rooms where up to 12 people can sleep all together. So also beyond the working conditions, also the living conditions were very poor and put at risk the health of the workers. What happened was that during the excavation and the construction of the St. Gotthard tunnel, 199 people were killed due to accidents, so like dynamic explosions, falling of rocks, run over by other vehicles, or also because they were suffocated by toxic fumes. But many, many more were killed by a disease that at that time was called the Gotthard anemia or the miner's anemia. That was a disease initially attributed to the inhalation of toxic gases inside the tunnels. But then after studies conducted also on the results of the autopsies conducted on the workers that were killed by this disease, it was discovered actually that they had been killed by the infection by ankylostoma, that is a parasite, or hookworm, is a parasite that is not typical of the Alps. And it was found in that region and in that working conditions because of the high temperatures in the tunnel, the very high humidity rates in the tunnels, and also due to the very poor working and living condition of the workers. So this was the reason why. What happened at this point? That when the works for the construction of the Simplon tunnel in 1898 started, some physicians in the region, in the north of Italy, decided that they needed to avoid that anything like that had happened during the construction of the St. Gotthard should happen again. So the construction of the tunnel started in 1898 and it was finished in 1906. And here you can see that the number of workers were much higher, 25,000 workers involved. There were probably a higher number of accidents, more than 3,000, almost 4,000 accidents, but only 21 of them were fatal. So this means that a lot of safety measures were put in place to reduce the number of fatalities compared to the number of workers, of course. And most of all, a new approach was put in place to deal with all the situation, the working condition and the construction of the tunnel, taking into consideration multidisciplinary expertise, workers' health surveillance. That was the first time making real workers' health surveillance, and also providing housing, sewage system, and also schooling for the families. So creating a living environment that was actually able to receive these people and to support their living outside of the working hours. So the real innovations were on the side of engineering during the construction of the Simplon tunnel, because a ventilation system was put in place by building a third gallery that could allow the change of the air inside the gallery, and also a cooling system was put in place to reduce the temperature inside the tunnel. Second, living conditions. A new village was built close to the work site so that people could be accommodated in real houses with an efficient sewage system, and also school for the minors' children were built so families could live there all together and the children could receive appropriate education. And finally, health surveillance was put in place. The main actor was Giuseppe Violante, and he decided to build a new hospital near the work site. This hospital provided, during the years of the construction of the tunnel, more than 235,000 visits, so outpatient and home visits that for workers and also for their families, so really occupational health, but also community health in a large work site. And also occupational health and hygienic measures were put in place, like putting mobile latrines in the galleries following the workers so that they could use more appropriate and hygienic services. Drinking water was provided at the excavation sites, and also the workers were obliged to use boots inside the galleries. And because the hookworm enters in the human body through the skin, and so when you walk on dirty floor, the worms can get under the skin and then colonize the body. Using the boots represented the use for the first time of a real personal protective equipment. Numbers related to this were really amazing because there were no deaths related to the hookworm infection. So it was really, what was put in place was really efficient. And for this reason, in 1902, Malachia de Christoforis decided that this achievement needed to be celebrated in a very important way, and to not only to recognize that they had been efficient, but to bring forward this experience as a lesson for the future. So in 1902, it was decided to set up an international congress. This started with the first meeting in a restaurant in Milan, where these people met and created this executive committee with Malachia de Christoforis, Luigi Devoto, that will be the first Secretary General of ICOH, and then other people that worked for the organization of the Congress. And this restaurant, Savini in Milan, that it's still existing. So the small picture that you see on the right side was sent to me by Sergio Iavicoli a couple of years ago, because he went there for dinner, and he sent me the picture with the bottle and the arches of the restaurant, just to say the place is still here, and where our history began, we can still go and have dinner or eat something. So in 902, all the work started for the organization of the first Congress that was held in Milan during the EXPO, International EXPO, in 1906. Here you can see the original invitation for participants at the opening ceremony, the proceedings of the first Congress. And since then, every 3 years, ICO has had his own Congress, except for the years during the World War I and World War II. We have always had our triennial Congress. The last one was in Marrakesh in 2024. The next one will be in India, 2027 in Mumbai. So here is really how things started. But now, more than 100 years ago, as Seung-Kyu already said, in 2015 at the Second General Assembly of the ICO Congress in Seoul, some members of ICO raised the issue of the fatalities related to the migrant workers working at the construction site of the FIFA 2022 World Championship. So ICO produced a first statement in July, so 1 month after the closing of the Congress, and a delegation of ICO officers with Sergio Iavicoli, that was the Secretary General at that time, with the President at that time, and some other, and with the support of the International Labour Organization, organized a mission to Qatar and started working with the Qatari government to improve the situation and the working conditions of the migrant workers in Qatar. So here you can see working conditions in Qatar at the time of the construction of the FIFA World Cup event. We know that there have been a lot of fatalities, all related to migrant workers, because the situation in Qatar is that only 5% of the population, original population, was involved in this kind of construction site, and all the rest were migrant workers, especially from Nepal and from other Southeast Asian countries. The situation that was found there was related to occupational risk factors, like high work pressure to deliver the works on time, unsafe workplaces, long working hours, and high temperatures at work sites, but also other factors that were not related to work sites and workplaces, but to the general living condition of the migrant workers, like communication difficulties and language barriers, poor living arrangements, and also lack of medical support from the employer in the host country. So something that is, we are talking about 2015, 2018, so more than 120 years after the St. Gotthard, but the situation is very similar to how we started and from where we started. So it is important that we continue work on this. And this is just to show in 2020, after 2 years of activity and collaboration between ICO, the International Labour Organization, and the countries that agreed to find solution and improve the working condition of the migrant workers, how things change in some countries. And you can see that, for example, in Qatar, a lot of things were improved because there was the possibility for the migrant workers to change job. The kafala system was stopped in Qatar, and also a minimum wage was ensured for the workers. But the situation needed a lot of improvement in other countries. Now, from St. Gotthard to our days, we can see that the story repeats. And in fact, in 2022, ICO, in conjunction with the ICO Digital Congress in 2022, released a new statement that is a statement on protecting the occupational health and safety of migrant workers. It discusses about the protection of health and safety of migrant workers as a global issue, and it refers not only to working conditions, but also to living conditions of the migrant workers. So we want to have a general approach to the condition of the migrant workers when they are working in sites that are outside their country. So not only looking at occupational health, but also at how they live, and to ensure that also living conditions are hygienically safe and not putting at risk their lives. We also started a collaboration with the International Organization for Migrations. We went there in September 22 with a delegation with Dr. Akran Salmen Navarro, who unfortunately is not here today. He could not join us. Seon-Kyu was there as well, and we started some discussion with the organization of the International Organization of Migration to collaborate together to improve also the occupational health of migrant workers. That was a part of health that the International Organization for Migration was not looking at until we met. So some collaboration are now ongoing, and unfortunately, Dr. Akran is not here today to talk about this with us, but he will do, I'm sure, in future events. And with this, my presentation has come to an end, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Diana. It is exactly 14 minutes that you finished. Thank you so much. Diana has given us a nice overview on ICOH and also on the history. And she has touched important aspect and important role of the construction workers and migrant workers, because they generally get those 4D jobs: dirty, dangerous, difficult, and with discrimination. And to this D's, now one C is being added of climate change. So let's go ahead further.
Okay, let's move to the specific sections. There are 3 sections in this symposium. The first section is about health effects by climate change. We have 3 speakers, and the first speaker is Jason Lee from National University of Singapore. The title of Jason's presentation is Physiology of Health Effects by Heat Stress. Jason, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Waiting for my slides to be up. Thank you. I'm given 8 minutes, so I will speak like a trained, very typical Singaporean journal, so please pay attention. First, I just want to create awareness. There are good resources out there, very specific to heat. So one is under ICOH, but beyond that, some of you might have heard about the Global Heat Health Information Network. And in that network, workers' heat is one of our key priorities. So resources are out there, so I refer you to these 2 good sources. For some of you who participated in the earlier session on heat, a couple of days back, we talked about the need to contextualize. So I can talk about global issues of heat, but because it's 8 minutes, I want to focus a little bit on the global south, or in this case, even further, being more specific, Southeast Asia. There's no heat waves per se, so does it mean that heat is not a problem for us, to us? So in my context, coming from Singapore, Southeast Asia, it is perpetually high temperatures, high humidity all year round. So imagine this condition you are facing outside the hall. This is the condition in Singapore pretty much 365 days. So it's a different context altogether, not super hot, but yet shape our behavior, leading to the direct impacts of heat. You can see these are the classic ones you read from the literature, pretty much from the global north to hospitalization, healthcare system, accidents, economic losses. But how about the less talk about issues? I cite one here, myopia. 9 out of 10 adults in Singapore are myopic. If you think that we're living in tropical parts of the world, we are all heat acclimatized, then you're wrong. There are too many shopping malls for us to hide. But having said so, we have workers in Singapore too. They don't have the luxury to hide in shopping malls, and therefore they face the brunt of chronic heat exposure. So it's a perpetual pain. Sometimes I wonder whether the workers understand they are in an uncomfortable position. I use the analogy of a smelly room. Remember, when you step into a place that is very smelly, the stench is very strong. After a while, the stench is there, but you don't smell it anymore. That's dangerous, because if you're not even aware that you are in trouble, you won't take actions. So I have no time to go through this list here. Males' fertility, maternal health, comfort in learning, all kinds of occupation, elderly, diseased population, so on and so forth. It's easier today to ask you which aspect of your work is not affected by heat. I showed this video a couple of days back. I showed it again. This is a physiological condition called heat syncope. Usually there are no deadly consequences. You just fall flat on the ground, blood pressure gets maintained, blood and therefore oxygen goes back to your brain, you recover. But look at the photo on your right. The same physiological phenomenon occur. In this case, this deadly consequence, he fell from height and he passed on accordingly. So ask yourself again, what are the negative outcomes you see at workplaces? And is heat another trigger? Yeah, so it's not just no heat stroke, no problem. Heat can induce a lot of other consequences. I briefly talk about Project Heat Safe, but the main message here is if you want to hack this big ticket item, we need to work even closer together across disciplines, across organizations. So I'm looking at the government here. If you are a representative in that sector, there is the need to close out the ecosystem. Even not just bring occupational safety and health folks together. Look at it beyond, because at the end of the day, you want resources to undertake the work. So it is a bad strategy going into the board, telling the minister, say, I have a new problem. It's better to tell him or her and say that the same investment I'm asking you to make will not only solve this problem I'll talk about, but it will also augment other problems in the society. So see it as a whole of nation, whole of society exercise. I show these two, but I see a lot of new faces here, so I can't but repeat some of the content. Remember, at the end of the day, it is not pure statistics. A lot of us, when you see reports coming to our office, we see them as numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you, these are actual lives out there. Lives and livelihood are compromised. Just imagine if one of these worker here is your friend, your brother, your sister. It makes a huge load of difference. So don't see this as an academic exercise. Don't see it as your day job. These are lives that we are talking about. Very quickly, I have no time to go to the detailed physiological responses, but today there are many wise men and women in the boardroom maintain that, but the one that can bring about good evidence usually will get a bit more attention from the chairman and therefore the right decision making. Looking at the mean, you will conclude it's not an issue. They are not too hot if you put the line at 38, 38.5, but we are often after the outliers. Heat death is 100% preventable, not 99.9. It's 100%. And also, if you want to save everyone, always pick out the outliers. Here you see, for whatever reason, this worker was soaring high in his temperature. If you think indoor work is safe from heat, you are wrong. This was an underground worker / indoor worker. He was boiling at 39.4 degrees Celsius. Thank God he was fine. Also, using science and technology, we want to use them as an enabler for better decision making. The good news is solutions don't have to be sophisticated. Good education to debunk the myths, strengthen the right knowledge, incorporate more rest. More rest do not equate to poorer productivity. I will show you empirical data to prove so. Right equipment. Representative photos here. And look at this. With more rest, they became more productive. So go back to the chairman. This is not a zero-sum game. This is not an altruistic welfare conversation. I'm not asking you to give more welfare and profit less. I'm asking you to augment health and therefore augment your business, augment your reputation. So it's a win-win for all. So I'm asking, why are we not taking actions urgently? And finally, if I may conclude, my time is coming. I want to play a quick video here to talk about what is next. After hearing all this, there is ICOH to be participated in. And if you look at beyond ICOH, there are greater platform for you to consider if your work also encompasses or across other platforms. A short video and I will sum up my talk.
In a world gripped by rising temperatures, we in Southeast Asia stand at the front line of this global crisis. We are experiencing more intense, more frequent, and more severe heat events, creating unprecedented conditions that are threatening our health, our lives, and our livelihoods. We have always lived with the heat and humidity, so it's easy to think we are used to it. But as the heat intensifies, we must ask, are we truly prepared for what lies ahead? Our countries, provinces, and homes are feeling the strain of increasing oppressive heat, with schools closing, work disrupted, and heat-related illnesses on the rise. The toll of chronic heat stress is also quietly impacting our health, productivity, and mental well-being. The region's rapid urbanization and aging populations, plus socio-economic disparities, further amplify the impacts, making this issue impossible to ignore. The time to act is now. This urgency has led to the creation of the Global Heat Health Information Network Southeast Asia Hub, a regional initiative of the global network which is spearheaded by the WHO-WMO Joint Office for Climate and Health. Anchored at the Heat Resilience and Performance Center at the National University of Singapore's Yong Loo Ling School of Medicine, the hub will be central to the region's transformative action. Our mission: to foster collaboration, accelerate knowledge sharing, and catalyze evidence-based policy and action. By focusing on regional specific challenges and priorities to safeguard human health and well-being, we strive to prepare communities, protect populations, and empower individuals to thrive in a Southeast Asian climate.
Together as a region, this is our opportunity to build stronger, heat-resilient communities. For today, for tomorrow, and for future generations, let us commit to face these challenges head-on and build a heat-resilient Southeast Asia that can thrive in face of this warming world.
Together, let's rise above the heat.
พวกเรามาสู้กับความร้อนไปด้วย
Mari bertahan melawan haba.
Cùng hợp sức phòng chống sốc nhiệt.
Daig natin ang init.
Bersama kita atasi rasa panas.
យើងរួមគ្នាយកឈ្នះបរិយាកាសខ្លាំងខ្លាំង
ก็สามารถเอาชนะอากาศร้อนเอาที่ท้าทาย
Okay, the last sentence they say that is let's rise above the heat in various languages in Southeast Asia. Key message there is it's important before you go about doing the work, bring out the policies, right? It's important to get the people involved. Behavioral and implementation sciences have taught us, even with good solutions that is being generated out of an exercise, if the recipients were never involved in the exercise, they would not adopt your recommendations. So get them involved. This is a mini exercise we have undertook to first look at, okay, what does this mean? Is it about urban heat, workers' heat, traditional and cultural practices of heat management? Who are the local partners? Who are the regional partners? So do the stakeholder exercise. I remember in the earlier symposium we held, there was a session reminding us stakeholders' engagement, involvement are critical. Yeah, so as you go about doing the exercise, make sure the stakeholders are in the room during the formatting stage, discussing what strategies, policies, things to do accordingly. So this is not done yet. It's also a call for collaboration whoever is interested to partner us in this exercise for that region, please. There's a QR code here. Don't worry, we'll share the slides after this, I believe, partake in this exercise. Again, if I may conclude, I want you to remember again about what happened during the pandemic. Yeah, that we reminded us the fabric and foundation of our society are really our workers at heart. While you are hiding in your apartment, workers are still out there providing the foods in the agriculture, building new infrastructure, taking good of your health in hospital. Yeah, so from an altruistic, from an economic, from a strategic reasoning, we must undertake this exercise with great urgency. With that, thank you, and I thank my team. And final slide is always a slide for recruitment. We are often short of compassionate and competent individuals. So you have good students, researchers, refer all disciplines. Today, we no longer undertake this exercise looking at it from a physiological lens, from a physician lens, from an engineering lens, economics lens, social lens. It's almost like a crime scene investigation. We look at the same problem with multiple lenses, and hopefully the derived solutions and policies will be more comprehensive and holistic. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Jason addressed many health effects by heat stress, which have been ignored or not highlighted before, and showed some interesting examples which help us understand the effect of heat stress. And we will have Q&A time after the first section with 3 presenters all together. So we will move to the next speaker. The next speaker is Jina Yoon. Jina is a professor of Yonsei University Medical College, and his presentation title is Heat-Related Health Effects Through Big Data.
Thank you for introducing. Hello, everyone. I'm Jin Ha-yoon. My topic is the shift of risk. When I analyze big data, I found some different trend line between the poor and rich, and skilled manual and unskilled manual. Yes. My topic is focused on just two. One is adapting. So is this the climate change? Can we adapting by biologically or socially? And another topic is risk shifting. When someone adapting this emerging climate crisis, but someone should go outside to work instead of some adapting group. So I think in the regression analysis, there are some inequality amplifier. To analyze this, I used just 2 data. One data, emergency room surveillance system in Korea is a passive surveillance system, and NHIS is covers all of the Korean. And this data have income level, so we can analyze subgroup analyze of income level. Our first picture is that right side, the orange bar means the number of heat wave days. It means the bar is high, it's more hotter day, and the red line means the heat-related illness. There is a very common sense of because if the number of heat waves increase, the number of heat-related illness also increased. It's common sense. When we analyzed according to the occupation group, please focus on the blue line. Blue dot is the skilled manual. In 2018, there is a high number of heat wave days, and there is also high number of cases per heat-related illness. And after that, I'll just focus on the 2020 per. They also high number of heat waves day, but the number of heat-related illness decrease. So I think this initial observation is adaptation. Maybe this adaptation occurred for awareness, behavior, or workplace measurement, or public campaign, or workplace environment management. So I think we can adapting social or biologically. But however, when we introduce another occupation group here, is unskilled manual. However, there is some adaptation in skilled manual. The risk sharply increased in non-skilled manual. I think it is strongly suggests the phenomenon of risk shifting. The x-axis is weeks. It means maybe here is late July and early August. In this point, the number of hit rate is sharply increased on skilled manual. So it is maybe here almost mid 30 Celsius degree. From this point, the gap between the gap of hit rate is widened. And after we analyze the regression plot here, is a number of days of the heat waves. The number of heat waves widen the gap between the skilled manual and unskilled manual. So in first figure, we discussed about adaptation. Well, second picture focused on non-skilled manual. We strongly suggest the risk shifting from the skilled manual to the unskilled manual because someone should go outside in heat waves days. So first summary is that even though there is social or technological development, does not automatically resolve the crime rate inequality. Second data is NHI's data with income level. I analyzed the income level, subgroup analyzed according to the income level. We can see that this is across the industry, and its axis is the weeks, and y-axis means the number of hit rate areas. And red line is poor income level, and blue line richer income level. There is a difference across especially in manufacturer and some other financial group, something like that. No. It's a human resource group. In this industry group, we can find the vulnerable group. So just it's common sense. Lower income group is vulnerable to the heat wave index. This is a maximum temperature, x-axis, so y is the same, the heat rate areas. And among the mid 30 Celsius degree, from here, the inequality widen according to the max temperature, especially manufacturing, construction, and human resource. So the gap in heat rate is between the low income and the high income group widen as maximum temperatures across the most industry. So first, the right picture we discuss about risk shifting, and the left picture we discuss about the inequality amplified by maximum temperature. So my conclusion is that we can find the risk shifting in non-skilled workers, and the inequality related to climate change is widened in poor occupational group. Now we discuss about the period of climate change, and we will develop new technology, new guideline, new social law management system. But if we get progression, but the development has not automatically guaranteed health equity in climate crisis. So when I start this analysis, I think the climate crisis is an environmental disaster, After I analyzed, I found some risk shifting phenomenon and inequality widening phenomenon. I think some portion of climate change is maybe social disaster, because the social poor group suffer from more compared to the superior group. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Gina showed an important concept to consider when we analyze the data about occupational health issues, especially for heat-related disease. Thank you again, Gina. And if anyone wants to ask questions in the floor, you will have a chance to ask after the next presentation.
Yeah, we now have Dr. Sechi Hori. He has been a former board member of International Commission on Occupational Health, and he also teaches at University of Occupational and Environmental Health, UOEH.
Good morning, everybody. After the very comprehensive, nice talk by Jason, I think I can quickly go through these 4 topics, but in the first half of my talk, maybe I can skip those, but I would like to point out a little bit again about the climate change. Why we are having climate change? Well, I think people agree that that is because of the greenhouse gases. And the greenhouse gases are increasing, especially in the 20th century. And you know that IPCC, who are the scientists, are always giving the recommendation to the COP, governmental panel. And they have 4 scenarios. And most fortunate one is RCP 2.6 scenario. But if that is followed, the carbon dioxide concentration have to be decreased from 2040. I'm not sure we are seeing this or not. And the northern hemisphere of the globe is much affected by the climate change. And what are the climate extremes? So we are having not only the heat waves, but we also have the severe storms. And well, in this country, in Japan, we are seeing more snowfalls in the wintertime because the vapors in the air is increasing and will give them more snowfalls in the wintertime. And flooding, droughts, wildfires, ocean acidification from the carbons in the air, and ice and glaciers are melting. And there are lots of estimations from the scientific world, and you can see that the change in mortality risk at specific temperature values here. And each place is like Sao Paulo, Paris, Bangkok, located in a different climatic conditions, and their temperature mortality are a little bit different from place to place. Like in Bangkok, I'm not sure whether this is right or not, but the ideal temperature could be somewhere around the 28 or 29, and it will increase after 32, but in Sao Paulo, it will be happening from 28, and in Paris, after 20 centigrade, it's already increasing. But usually the temperature mortality relationship is in a U-curve. And there's another study here that, unfortunately, Southeast Asia is expected to have the highest increase of the excess mortality. Well, this part I can skip, I think, because there are variety of the effect, human health effect from the climate change, like this vector-borne infections, and also the water-borne infections will happen because of the water contamination, but also the lack of clean water, and disrupted public health care will happen after the long continuous breakdown of the health care. Well, increase in air pollutants will cause the respiratory disease, typically by the photochemical gases, and also the cardiovascular diseases will be aggravated by the endothelial dysfunction and some systemic effect from the heat stress. And the mental disorder can even happen. These are a little bit newer investigations saying that the extreme weather event will cause the PTSD and anxiety, high temperature, mood disorder will happen, and the new word like solastalgia, coming from the nostalgia. Nostalgia is, after moving the place to place, but the solastalgia is the change of the climate at the same place, and the eco-anxiety may happen to the people, and the changing livelihood will cause suicides or violence and crimes in the society. From now, I would like to show you some example happening in Japan. We have a very good statistics over 130 years of the history, starting from 1896 to last year. And we are seeing that like a 3 centigrade increase of the average temperature over the summertime. You can see at the end of this chart over here, the highest summer came last year and also the year before last. And then if you accumulate the number of the hot days having 35 centigrade or over, then last year we had the most. And what is typical also for Japan is that among the countries having a good statistics, I believe that Japan is extremely high in the proportion of the aged population over 65 years old. And well, EU is only 21%, but in Japan it's already close to 30%. And as a result, to keep the economy of this country, we have to have an elder workforce to be in the workforce. Like even after 65 years old, 25% of the elderly people are still in the workforce. And if you only limit to 65 to 69, more than half is working. So for the Japanese, until 70 years old, we have to work in average. And even after 75 years old, 11% is working in this country. Well, heat wave and also the aged population, we are having, the solid statistics says that we are having more heat strokes in this country. This is a vital statistics. I mean that the people are dying from heat stroke in this country. And we had several heat waves. The first one came in 2010, and we had a historical high of 1,731 people died from heat-related illnesses. If you break down this to the proportion in each category, each age categories, then we have a statistic saying that, the most aged category over 100 years old having the highest rate of dying from heat stroke. And this curve is like this, sharply going up from after 75 years old. And if we limit the number in occupational heat strokes, we are having the highest last year, and the numbers are generally increasing. So what we are doing is we are actively promoting to the society about the index of the heat stroke risk by WBGT. If you can go to this website is always giving the real-time WBGT estimation of all over Japan. And WBGT is like this, and you know that wet bulb and also the WBGT, the globe temperature are added to create the WBGT. And we have a campaign that in the Japanese society saying that if the WBGT is going 28 or over, that is a heat warning. So we should avoid the strenuous exercise and work. And this is also the evidence that emergency transport goes higher after the WBGT of 28 or more. And what is more interesting is that emergency transport occur in early summer than in the late summer. The green is in July and the orange is in August, and then it will be different. So what we are doing is well, Japanese people are very serious about following the legislation. So what we'll do is, number one is to follow the improve the legislation gradually, and we have several legislation here. For your example, that one is a labor standard law, another is the Industrial Safety and Health law, and Climate Change Adaptation Act is also like this, and quite new one is in the bottom. This year we had another amendment of the regulation. So this is a real picture of the WBGT of this country, and we have a 2 days forecast of the WBGT, and the alerts are in all over Japan. Well, these are some pamphlets issued by the government. There are lots of ministries issuing this kind of governments, not only the health ministry, but also the environment and also the sports division. And we say that if you find somebody who's fainted like this, please pour the water on his surface. This is the best way to reduce the body temperature. We also have technical innovations like this. This is shielding the radiation from the ceiling and also from the windows, and we also giving the vapors from the top. And there are lots of new ones coming up in the market, like a phase change material. So this is for the neck. Some others are for the is blowing in the cold air on the surface of the body. And you see, okay, I'll sum up. And lots of fans are also in the market, and there are some new technologies trying to measure the heart rates and to estimate the heat strokes. And also the body cooling ice slurries are now in sale. So we are doing this, and we hope to have a lesser number of the occupational heat stroke in Japan. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. You can sit here on the chair. Don't go back. Please have a seat. I will also request previous two speakers, Jin Ha-yoon and Jason Lee, to please come up. If there are any questions, we can take a question each, for each speaker, one question. Yeah, please go to the mic so that it will get recorded.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Ashok Garlapati from BCSP, Board of Certified Safety Professionals. I work in Kuwait Oil Company in Kuwait. This is a common subject for us also. So this is a general question for all three speakers. In Kuwait, we have a regulation. If heat temperature goes to some extent, we stop the work. And those regulations are strictly implemented. I just want to know, in your countries, do you have any specific regulations related to the heat? If the temperature goes to such extent, humidity goes to such extent, do you have any regulations to stop the work? Actually, we don't have this humidity. Even though I'm exposed to much higher temperature there, I feel so exhausted here in Osaka. So I can understand the workers' situation. So kindly elaborate on that, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, in Japan, we don't have such kind of solid, sharp line, because the heat stroke is not happening only from the temperature. It's not only from the environmental exposure, the physical demand, also the individual conditions, adaptations, age. There are lots of things that we have to consider. So what we are asking to the employers is please don't cause the heat stroke. And there are multiple different ways to prevent. So we issue a lot of guidelines for them for the reference to follow, but not focusing on one thing to do. But if there is an occupational accident really happens, there will be easily sued, actually, in this country. Why didn't you follow these guidelines? If you do this, probably these victims will be saved, their life. So,
yeah.
Would you like to
you want to add?
Oh, no. Yeah. To the best knowledge of me, the Korean have a right to stop and avoid the right to avoid the workplace when we expect there will be severe disaster. The severe disaster definition of a severe disaster is disaster linked to the die or something like that. So it's a general regulation. Maybe if it is not true, please guide me out. So we make this year we made a regulation for the high temperature, the high temperature with humidity. With this algorithm, we can moderate or we can act the right of avoid workplace. And for the army, not a general workers, for the army, we can stop every training situation with high temperature, with high humidity. Yes.
Yeah, I will give a quick, short response so we have time for one more, hopefully. In Singapore, and Director, Ministry of Manpower is there. You can consult her after for more information. Today, in our context, there is no need to stop works, at least for now, but a suite of measures are in place to curb the heat strains. Bear in mind, unless you are very clear that the threshold that you are calling off will have consequences, right? Sometimes it's very difficult to push that out, especially from a recipient perspective. There is work to be done. If there's too many false positives, means you say 34, 35, and you stop work completely, and on the ground they say, my guys are still functioning well, then you might lose confidence, and therefore we are constantly trying to agree on the sweet spot. Whatever guidelines we push out, as much as possible, the people must feel that it's evidence-based, that it's basis. It's easy to call. I give an example, this is not workplace, but in the Philippines, last year there was a heat wave and schools were closed. It sounds right? School closed and children will be protected, but it has cascading impacts. The parents who are going to stay at home, taking care of the children who probably lost their jobs, and therefore who's going to catch up with the curriculum in school thereafter. So it's not an acute measure. You need to be aware of the implications too. Also in our context, because it's not driving to 40 degrees, 45 degrees, Singapore hovering about 30, 35 degrees Celsius. We think when the temperature gets to the upper end, with good rest, with good hydration, cooling measures, we can curb the heat and still preserve the worker. Thank you.
Thank you, all the speakers. You have elaborated on the effects and also the measures that are being taken in your respective countries. I'm sure the audience is that much wiser today. And we'll move on to the next. We were supposed to have a break, but I don't think we have time for that. So you can take your seats. And we were supposed to have a physiological break, but anyway, there is no coffee. So there is no coffee break. We'll move on to the next speaker, next session, and we'll have two speakers in this session, Jaime Lim and Yong Seok. So please introduce Jaime. Oh, you don't know? Okay. So Jaime Lim is from Ministry of Manpower, Singapore. Yeah, please.
Slides, please. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm from Singapore, and Prof. Jason just pointed me out there just now. I'm from the regulator. So just a quick answer to your question is we do stop work for specific workplaces if they contravene requirements that do not fulfill our heat stress framework, which I will share shortly. Okay, this session is focusing on migrant workers' health especially in Southeast Asia, in hot and humid Singapore. So here, what I'm presenting is a heat stress framework to protect all outdoor workers, be they Singaporeans, residents, or migrant workers. So we try to have an inclusive approach for all workers in Singapore. Our sister agency, the Ministry of Sustainability and Environment, actually did a projection of what it's going to be like in terms of the temperature, the WBGT in Singapore. So on the average, we are expecting, if you look at ambient temperature, not WBGT, it's about a 5 degrees Celsius increase. And that will mean also very hot days and warm nights, meaning there's very little respite from the heat, even though it's dark at night. So here I have the QR code. If you're interested in the detailed projections of what we have done in Singapore, you can scan the QR code to access the report. So with this finding, we will have to make sure workplaces are prepared, employers are equipped with protective measures to protect outdoor workers so that when they work in the heat, they continue to contribute to society, to have productive output, and yet be protected while at work so that they can continue in their jobs and their careers. So to do this, we actually have revised the framework. Why revised is because we did 2 rounds. The first round, we did a framework, and we had multiple consultations with trade unions, associations, employers, as well as within professionals. So we did many rounds of consultation, including government agencies who have commissioned work in public areas as well. So as part of the revised framework, the only key thing that I would like to point out is in terms of when WBGT hits 32 degrees, for every hour of heavy physical work, the worker is entitled, and the workplace is required to provide a 10-minute break that is paid. So 32 WBGT, 10 minutes paid break for every hour of heavy physical work. So we went out and we consulted, and we went out and we told everyone to adhere to this. So in terms of our core requirements, it is not a one solution, it is a layered approach. So we call it drink, rest, shade, a simple, easy to remember and to say slogan, so that we hope that workers, regardless of their language abilities, are able to internalize it. So we added acclimatize as part of it because Singapore is rather hot and humid. We will want workers to acclimatize, especially workers coming from colder climates. So acclimatize, drink, rest, and shade. So these are actually requirements mandated as part of heat stress framework in Singapore. So in addition to acclimatize, drink, rest, shade, we also layer other guidelines advisory. These are not requirements per se, but we encourage employers and workplaces to implement them as part of their overall strategy to protect workers. So this includes monitoring WBGT, having an on-site localized reading of the WBGT at the work site or the workplace. And for certain specific categories or sectors of workplaces, chemical processing plant, oil refineries, construction sites, large ones, as well as marine shipyards, they are required, mandated to have an on-site localized WBGT monitoring that reads out the reading every hour. So in addition to that, emergency response is required, ventilation is a must, as well as monitoring workers, helping out each other, taking care of each other, as well as considering rescheduling the work to cooler parts of the day. So we allow workplaces flexibility in the additional advices and guidelines that we provide in the gray boxes to allow them to layer on or adapt as their business needs change. And we think that employers are key stakeholders. They have a lot of ways that they can create protection for workers, and it's all in their hands. So we try our best to educate them, and even giving them this particular checklist, which helps them identify heat-related illnesses or the symptoms of it before it actually occurs. So we hope to drive them towards a preventive mindset. And apart from heat, as we talk about climate change in this session, rising temperature is one of them. We cannot forget that there are other adverse weather events such as excessive rainfall, flash floods, increased lightning, high winds. So with that, we also came up with a guide on adverse weather conditions. So in September 2024 in Singapore, we are used to either rain or shine, but there was a Sumatra squall that sudden high winds came along and it actually knocked down some structures or dismantled some building parts. So that was a very stark call for us. So we quickly came up with adverse weather conditions kind of guidance for workplaces to help them prepare for it before it actually happens. So the key message is, during peacetime, please check your structures, make sure your workplaces, the electrical equipment, should you apply your imagination and your thinking, what would happen if there is flooding, excessive wind, high winds, or a lot of lightning? What should you do now to prevent lesser downtime or a lot of mitigation work when it actually happens? So now we're trying to shift the mindset to preparing is more important than reacting to it, because in the end, if you don't prepare, you will spend more time reacting. So in addition, we came up with more details in our guidelines, which we launched earlier this year. So with that, I would like to leave you with some of the resources we have developed for workplaces in Singapore. The heat stress framework that I talked about, if you would like more details, is on the top left corner. Okay, then below it is the FAQs, because we get asked a lot of questions. Why are we targeting outdoor workers? In short, we are targeting outdoor workers first, but we are moving on towards indoor workers and other workers in the indoor setting. So we are starting with the higher risk ones. So once workplaces, employers are more used to it, then we can slowly propagate outwards. So that's our strategy. And we typically will launch a lot of insights or case studies about how good workplaces actually protect their workers. And this is under the Wish Insights on your top right. And then we also have guidelines for those who wish to learn more about work rest cycles. So that's in your bottom right. We also have guidelines on WBGT monitoring and our heat stress checklist, which I showed earlier, as well as some collaterals or communications for workers, heat stress posters. So I will leave you with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to the next speaker. Next speaker is Young-Seok Oh from POSCO, Korea. Actually, the speaker originally scheduled to be here. He cannot be here because the inevitable events happened in his company. But fortunately, Young-Seok Oh, he can join us. He arrived in this morning, actually. Thank you, Young-Seok Oh, attending here. And his presentation title is Application of Robotics to Avoid Unnecessary Heat Exposure at Work. Please.
Hello everyone, my name is Young-Seok Oh, and I am the Junior Manager of POSCO's Safety and Health Planning Office. Today I am excited to discuss how we are enhancing occupational health in steelwork industry and through robotics automation. This initiative is crucial for improving safety and efficiency in our operations, and I look forward to sharing our journey and insights with you. Let me start by introducing POSCO Group first. Our vision is to evolve into a leading provider of eco-friendly future materials, focusing on steel and battery materials. At the core of our operations is the principle that safety and health are our top priorities. Founded in 1968, we have grown to become the global #1 steelmaker by crude steel output. Over the years, we have expanded our business, integrating various material business and establishing a strong presence in the industry. Our core businesses include steel, secondary battery materials, and new material business, supported by subsidiaries like POSCO, POSCO International, POSCO FutureM. This diverse portfolio is not only strengthens our market position, but also allows us to innovate across different sectors. Our commitment to sustainability and innovation drives us to continuously improve and adapt to the changing needs of the global market. We are dedicated to leading the industry in both quality and sustainability, ensuring that our operations are aligned with global environmental goals. Now, let's dive deeper into POSCO itself. As of 2023, we produce 40 million tons of crude steel annually. Our domestic operations are centered in Pohang and Gwangyang, while our overseas operations span countries like Indonesia, China, and Vietnam. We have been recognized as the world's most competitive steelmaker for 14 consecutive years, a testament to our commitment to excellence. Additionally, we have been named a sustainability champion for 2 consecutive years, highlighting our dedication to sustainable practices. This recognition is not just a badge of honor, but a reflection of our continuous efforts to lead the industry in both quality and sustainability. Our focus on innovation and efficiency has allowed us to maintain our competitive edge and continue to deliver high-quality products to our customers worldwide. We are committed to maintaining this leadership position by investing in cutting-edge technologies and sustainable practices that will drive our future growth. POSCO is proud to be the first Asian steel company to declare carbon neutrality by 2050. We have set ambitious goals to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, aiming for a 10% reduction by 2030, a 50% reduction by 2040, and achieving net zero by 2050. Our strategy involves developing hydrogen reduction ion making technology, transitioning to high-REX facilities, and advancing electric arc furnace technology. These efforts are essential in our journey towards a sustainable future. By investing in these technologies, we are not only reducing our carbon footprint, but also setting a new standard for the industry. Our commitment to carbon neutrality is a testament to our dedication to environmental responsibility and our role as a leader in the global steel industry. We believe that by taking these steps, we can significantly contribute to global efforts to combat climate change and create a more sustainable future for all. Our first use case focuses on unmanned inspection in high-risk areas, specifically the blast furnace area. We utilize field-customized robots to conduct inspections in harsh environments characterized by high temperatures, dust, and harmful gases. These robots stream video, thermal, and sound data remotely and alert us to any facility anomalies. This autonomous inspection process significantly enhances safety by reducing human exposures to this hazardous condition. The use of robotics in such environments is a game changer, allowing us to maintain high safety standards while ensuring operational efficiency. By leveraging advanced technology, we can proactively address potential issues and ensure the safety of our workers. This approach not only improves safety, but also enhances the reliability and efficiency of our operations, as we can quickly identify and address any issues that arise. In underground electrical rooms, we face high risks of fire and explosion due to high voltage equipment. Additionally, workers are exposed to heat stress and potential electric shock. To address these challenges, we deploy wheel-type mobile robots with autonomous navigation capabilities. These robots collect and manage data in real time, eliminating the need for human entry into these high-risk, confined spaces, thereby enhancing safety and efficiency. This approach not only protects our workers, but also ensures that our facilities are monitored continuously and effectively. By automating these inspections, we can quickly identify and address potential hazards and minimizing the risk of accidents and ensuring a safe working environment. This technology allows us to maintain high safety standards while optimizing our operational processes, ensuring that our facilities are always running smoothly and safely. For inventory measurement in our raw material yard, we employ drones to visually estimate large areas, approximately 180 hectares, which is about the size of 250 football fields. These drones operate on autopilot at high altitudes, around the 120 meters, and use automatic image processing to create 3D reconstruction. This method provides high precision and rapid measurement, achieving accuracy of over 95% in less than an hour. The integration of drone technology into our operations has revolutionized the way we manage inventory, providing us with real-time data and insights. This allows us to optimize our supply chain and ensure that we have the right materials available when needed, enhancing our overall operational efficiency. By using drones, we can conduct inventory assessments more frequently and accurately, leading to better resource management and cost savings. The Smart Wireable is a POSCO-developed low-cost wire robot used for unmanned inspection at high altitudes. It is equipped with acoustic, visual, and thermal sensors to diagnose facilities and detect hazards like fire and flood. This innovative technology replaces dangerous manual work at high altitudes, ensuring safety and reducing the risk of extreme falls during inspections. The Smart Wireable exemplifies our commitment to developing in-house solutions that address specific challenges in our operations. By leveraging this technology, we can conduct thorough inspections without putting our workers at risk, ensuring that our facilities are safe and operational at all times. This not only enhances safety, but also improves the efficiencies and reliability of our inspection processes, allowing us to maintain high standards of operating excellence. Our port unloaders operate at high altitudes, posing significant fall risks and ergonomic challenges due to awkward postures, such as constantly looking down. To mitigate these risks, we use remote operation from safe ground-level control rooms equipped with LiDAR and vision sensors for autonomous positioning and unloading. This approach eliminates high-altitude work, economic risks, operator fatigue, and enhancing safety and efficiency. And in conclusion, our commitment is to forge a safer future. We have achieved significant milestones such as reducing worker exposure, eliminating critical fall risks, and minimizing ergonomic strain. Our journey continues with predictive safety, where we leverage AI to prevent incidents before they occur. The ultimate purpose of technology is to protect our people, ensuring that everyone returns home safe every day. As we move forward, we remain dedicated to exploring new technologies and strategies that will further enhance safety and efficiency in our operations. Our vision is to create a workplace where safety is paramount and technology is used to empower our employees and improve their quality of life. Thank you for your kind attention.
May I request Jaime Lim to please come here? Both of you can have a seat, and if there is any question, the speakers will respond to that. And we had very nice presentations, one from the ministry and another from the enterprise. So if there are any question, if someone has any question, please ask in the mic. Yeah, please.
Thank you. My question is to POSCO. You know, I have been attending the several conferences on AI tools for HSE management. Most of the time, people raise a question, particularly from non-HSE professionals, that usage of these AI tools or AI for our industry applications always minimize the workforce or the loss of jobs and other things. Do you have any such situation, and what is your experience on that?
Well, using AI and robot means that it can be reduced work that, but we think we change man's role. So we changed the section of humans' working place. So our plan is not reduce humans' participation, and we think it is changing of man's role. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our time is up because we have next session. But yes, please, we'll take your question.
I wondered if you start seeing a change in work schedule, because definitely increasing temperature, especially in the afternoon. I wonder if you see some changes for new schedules. You know, is there a trend? Is there going to be change in our way we typically work, and we'll start our day at 4 and finish at noon instead of the typical 8 to 5. Do you see any trend in that direction, or for now it's still upcoming?
Thank you for your question. That's excellent that you paid attention to the rescheduling and how actually it's implemented on the ground. To be frank, from what I see in Singapore, we did encourage the shifting to earlier parts of the day. But most of the workers in construction sites are migrant workers. So they will live in the dorm and they will be picked up in the early morning and they'll go to the work site. So they will work till like maybe 6 or 7, depending on the overtime required, and then they'll return back to their dorms for the next day. So when we tried to tell employers to shift it earlier, there were a few obstacles. One is the pickup of using the transport. The driver himself is also subjected to longer working hours. It's tough on the driver. And also tough on the workers that are being picked up because they may have ended late the night before, and for them to wake up earlier, it's compromising on their rest. So if they don't get enough rest, then they get picked up. Then it's a double whammy. And the other part, at the end of the day, because Singapore is small, so a work site may be next to a residential home. So we can't do it past, I think it's 10 o'clock, or 9 or 10. And if we continue construction work, I think the residents won't be very happy. So both ends were kind of stuck. So while we said that, yes, you can bring it forward earlier, but I think there are some limitations in society today. So the best we can see is they will lengthen a bit on the lunch hour, and then maybe in the early morning, they will probably have a shorter tea break. And then the tea break in the afternoon where there's an accumulation of heat in the body, then the tea break is a bit extended. So they have done this, or they have allowed workers to freely just go to the washroom or take a break in an air condition if they have, or in a place where there are air coolers or fans. So it has been difficult to strike a balance between economic output, maintaining, and then no loss of productivity, and while protecting the workers. So it's quite tough, challenging. But I do hope that, like you said, there will be a day where it's more accepted in society, it becomes more of a norm than an exception. So I'm looking forward to that day. So till then, we will try to push and encourage. Thank you.
Thank you. You can take your seats now. And
okay.
We'll go because 2 more speakers are there. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. May I now invite Professor Vidya Venugopal. She is the chair of scientific committee at ICOH, and she is also a professor at Sri Ramchandra Institute. And she has been working on this area for a very long time.
Very good afternoon to all of you. Not my general voice. I've got a cold in the heat. So a bad cold in the heat. Right, okay, I'll keep it short. And if I start coughing, and then I'll stop. We have been, as like Dr. Pingley said, we have been working in this space for a long time, about 16 years, I should say. And heat is a problem. Like Jason Lee was talking, that whenever I go to many of these big meetings, they say, like, heat is natural in India. What's the problem, right? So it has been our joint view that we have been compromising our health in the heat, and we think it's very natural, but it has lots of negative impacts on our livelihood, our productivity, and the health, especially disability, has been something that we often see. And since this is a migrant, and we have a lot of migrants in India, we have about 26 states and about 100 languages with different dialects and everything. So when migrants move from one place to another, they do bear the brunt of just not only the heat, but other things as well. And that's what I'm going to highlight right now. And I'm not going to speak much about the climate change. Everybody have spoken about it. And India is going to face another 2.5 degree in the next few years. And there are a lot of gender inequities. That's one of the things that I'm going to highlight as well. And there are a lot of psychological consequences. And when Professor Hori was talking about mental health, we already have started seeing the eco-anxiety and mental health consequences among these migrant workers much more than others. 2021, our census report, recent one, says about 100 million migrant workers in India. So they travel from different parts of India to places where they can find work, and one of the main reasons is because of the climate. They are subsistence farmers, and they have their own small businesses which are impacted by climate. Now drought and other things, so they have to move to places where they can find work so that they can send money back home. And the ILO, 85% of Indian workforce belongs to the informal sector. We know that. About 10 million international migrants in the ASEAN countries, of whom only 50%, nearly 50% were women. So much more need for us to think about how migration happens with a gendered lens. And about 20% or 100 million of Indians estimated 450 million workforce are migrant workers. So it's not a small number, it's a big number. And more than 35% of seasonal migrants work in construction, 20% in agriculture, and about 16% in manufacturing. Why are they much more vulnerable? They have already spoken a lot about it. Language barriers, that's exactly why I said we have a lot of languages in India. And when they move from one state to another state, they do not know the language. It's not the same thing happens even for international migrants. When they move from one country to another, they are bound by the language, and it's very difficult for them to communicate what they actually go through. Legal and socioeconomic status, especially not only international but national too. When they move from one place to another, the social security cards, their health cards, and all of them are not kind of linked. And they're irregular and unemployed, unorganized employment. So they are at the mercy of the contractors who would give them the jobs. And poor housing and welfare conditions, that's not only happens in FIFA, in Singapore, housing, but also in India, where these migrant workers come. They live in shacks. They do not get a respite from heat at all. No government added resources for social schemes specifically for migrant workers. Lack of limited access to medical facilities and insurances. So if they get sick, it's out-of-pocket expenses, or they lose their wages and then get into the bad books of the contractor who does not give them the job anymore. So these people, many of them continue to work in spite of their health issues and other things. Increased social instability and decreased community cohesion. They're kind of isolated, and they are not able to mix with the regular society. Social limitations due to their educational status. Many of them are illiterates, and so it becomes very difficult for them to kind of raise their voices as well. Long working hours. When we speak about, one question was raised by the gentleman over there about time shifting, and that's happening in India already. We see all these informal workplaces where people are doing time shifting, and the most impacted are the women because they are not able to go early to work because they still have the children and the family to take care before they can actually go to work. So many of these women have to let go of their jobs and be home because of this time shifting. So there is again this gender issue that's coming into it. So we have to be very careful when you're thinking about time shifting. Few reasons. Most of these workers are working outdoors in high heat zones, not so much so in formal sectors, so much so in informal sectors, so the heat exposures are pretty high. Poor living conditions, lack of autonomy. Most are employed under contractual, informal, or daily wage systems with little bargaining power to refuse unsafe conditions. They continue working. And then there is also the social disconnection, separated from the families and familiar social systems. They often experience isolation, loneliness, and cultural dissonance. And this is one of the major reasons for them, for their mental issues. and precarious economic conditions. Missing work due to heat-related illnesses translates directly to income loss, creating anxiety and fear about survival, and getting the job the next day. That is another important issue. So these interacting stressors from the psychological burden and interplay between psychological experiences to social realities under a heating climate. And this is something that most of the researchers, climate change researchers, are embarking upon. And migrant heat exposure translation into psychological effects, what do we see and what others have been saying? Cognitive and emotional dysregulation. Heat reduces attention, it reduces your cognition and your memory and concentration, triggers irritability, aggression, and emotional exhaustion, and there is evidence for all of this. Migrants already are under stress and resilient to these disruptions. Social withdrawal and depressive symptoms, inability to access support networks, contribute to depression and hopelessness for these people, especially acute in interstate migrants with language barriers. Chronic stress and anxiety, pre-event anxiety similar to anticipatory trauma in these people, constant worry over heat exposure, job insecurity, income loss that creates chronic psychological stress for these migrants. There is a little table I made, housing, poor insulation, what is the link with the high psychological effect. Poor insulation, retained heat, sleep disturbances, and fatigue that translate into next day's lack of cognition and productivity loss, income, wage loss on hot days, anxiety, fear, and poverty, social support, disconnection from community, depression, loneliness, employment type, informal, unsafe, so lack of agency, burnout, lack of bargaining capacity, access to healthcare often limited or sometimes even absent, so delayed care and helplessness in case of any issues. Heat-related trigger, long work hours in the high heat. Like I said, they don't have the bargaining capacity, they have to continue working. And even if the productivity is, they have to still complete their targets. So instead of an 8-hour period, they probably will have to work 11 hours for the same pay without getting a break. And exhaustion, irritability, and mood swings. Unsafe communal spaces, water, toilets, harassment, fears, anxiety, more so for women. Loss of daily wages due to heat illness, financial stress, fear, and guilt. They migrate all the way across crossing borders only to make sure they can send money back home for the families. So that the basic principle is threatened. Nighttime heat in shelters, again, sleep loss, trauma, and helplessness. Mental discomfort, shame, distress, and absenteeism among these migrant women. Pregnancy in heat-exposed jobs. Many of these migrants in India, internal migration, they move with families. So it becomes pregnancy in heat-exposed, chronic anxiety, fear for the fetus and for their own health. Why these women are much more vulnerable. Women migrants face unique psychological challenges under heat stress than men. Increased domestic burden after long work hours, risk of harassment. Many of these women, like I said, they move with families. After a long work day, they still have to go back to their shacks and then try and see if they can cook a meal for the family or send these children to school, whatever, and their burden doesn't go down at all. Workplace exploitation, lack of control, fear of health risks, and poor access to health care, not just for themselves, but for the families too. Economic insecurity, which is again another psychological stressor. Of migrant women usually live away from the families with limited social support. So that also creates a lot of issues in them. These are all things that these women have said. We don't sleep at night, it's too hot, but we still wake early, go to work, our heads feel heavy, and we're always irritated. If I faint or fall sick, I don't get paid. So I keep working, but inside I feel angry and scared every single day. So we have much more in this, but because of lack of time, I'm not going to do that. We have some key evidences from our own study. We have found that this is a study that we did with migrant workers. We found like that about 65% of these women had heat-related issues, and more so in agriculture, and in construction and salt pans. There's all informal workplaces. and lots of women with skin disease, high heat exposures. About 74% of them had psychological issues. Policy and advocacy, large corporations and MNCs employing migrants via contractors. Most of them employ these people via contractors, so they have the responsibility, the CSR responsibility for the health and safety. That is something that needs to be mandated. Ensure compliance with labor rights provisions. Sector-specific strategy, NGOs and labor federations advocating. It is happening already, but not at the level that it should be. There are still a lot of gaps. Some subsidies and incentives could be done. Wage protection schemes, hydration stations, all of these are continuing. And skill development programs for these women to move to different jobs. And lack of heat health training, minimal mental health outreach, no support for psychological risks for migrants. So what can be done? I have already spoken about it. Access to clean water, ORS, it can be mental health first aid training, policy level, integrate migrant mental health in heat action plans, which is not done yet. Develop gender-sensitive support services, legal protection against exploitative work conditions. And just a summary of what we said. There is a call definitely for action. It's deepening. It's time to make mental health as a priority. Creating workspaces that support mental health, well-being, and safety can build resilience. Mental health, population well-being is nature's future health. So definitely, this definitely needs to go in there. Action is urgent and evidence is key. So we all have to continue working to gather the evidence to make the policies actually work. This is a small video. If we have time, just like about 30 seconds.
30 seconds is fine because we don't have much time left.
Yeah.
பாத்ரூம் கட்டிக்கு லேடிஸ் ஜென்ஸ் கூட எங்கன்னா போயிடுவாங்க லேடிஸ் எதுக்குன்னா போகிறதுனா ரொம்ப கஷ்டமாக இருக்கும் ரொம்ப தொலைவிட்டாக தான் போகணும் அதனால பாத்ரூம் அந்த பாத்ரூமும் எல்லாம் யூஸ் பண்ணுறதால யூஸ் பண்ண முடியல
ಕತ್ತನರವೆಲ್ಲ ತಾಳವಿಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಬಾತ್ರೂಮ್ ಸುತ್ತಮ ಇಲ್ಲ ಈಗ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟ್ಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲ எதுவுமே ஒன்றும் பச்சண்டே இல்லை ரொம்ப தூரம் ஒரு 3 கிலோமீட்டர் போகணும்
Thank you, Dr. Vidya. You had interesting videos, and of course, you raised the important focus on the psychosocial aspects, which are generally getting neglected. With this, I invite Mahinda. Mahinda Seneviratne is the board member at ICOH, and he was also for 2 terms the chairperson for Scientific Committee on Unemployment, Small Industries and Social Security. And he is also working as a state inspector in hygiene and toxicology team with safe work at New South Wales in Australia. He will be focusing on different health effects of workers' health in different geographic regions of the global south. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Shyam. And just as being the last speaker and just following up from Vidya, I think Vidya gave a very comprehensive insight into the complexities of migrant workers. So I want to focus more on the challenges faced by informal workers, a group that is, I think, largely marginalized and not given attention for a long time in occupational health, and largely because they are, unlike in other workplaces, they are not targeted by the labor inspectorates. And the other thing is they don't even have the protection of trade unions. So often it falls on the, what you call the civil sector, the NGOs, to look after their interests. So what I want is to briefly look at, and taking the last point from Vidya about call for action, how we can take some actions moving forward in addressing these very complex and challenging issues with informal workers. And I think it's the biggest global challenge in occupational health for us as OHS professionals. I want to focus on the Southern Asia, South Asian region, and Vidya covering a lot of India. I want to look at the smaller nations in South Asia, my country of birth, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan, and those countries. And one of the things we all have in common is that global warming and heat is not a new thing for the workers there. For centuries, they have been working in high heat, and the issues they have faced are quite common around there. The other thing I also want to share with you is to put some perspective from the workers themselves on what they want as solutions and what they can bring to the table. So we know where, there's a very good ILO report on where the high-risk workers are, and as you can see, the Asia-Pacific region, and especially the Southern Asia region, we know the populations. India has the largest working population in the world, and then you have countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, which have very large working populations, but with almost very little or no occupational health practices and services there. Now, you have heard about the migrant workers in Qatar. We remember in 2022, for just 1 week, there was global attention on the migrant workers in Qatar. But there's a lot of work being done, especially by Nepalese colleagues, to looking at how the workers died. It's not just the heat itself. We heard about the accommodation and other issues. There are other issues involved. Now, one of the other groups that I'm quite interested in are the rice farmers in Sri Lanka, who have, we have lost tens of thousands of farmers in the last decade or so from a chronic kidney disease of unknown etiology. And this particular disease is also seen in Central America among the sugarcane farmers and in a few other parts of the world. And the thinking from research so far is that it's associated with dehydration, but there's evidence from research in Sri Lanka that contaminants in the water, especially from agricultural inputs, pesticides, fertilizer, which is highly subsidized in Sri Lanka, may be contributing to this disease. So when we look at heat-related illnesses, we must not forget to look at the other factors that are involved in them. And we have heard about the temperature variations. There's a lot of data on the temperature changes in different countries. And it is these workers, like the ones you see here, a tree lopper, working with a chainsaw, working at heights and in very hot temperatures. The construction worker working with silica dust in his work, using chemicals in the work. Is working in hot work all day, often very long hours. So these are workers that we need to give attention to, and also the fact that they do work continuously in these heats. And some of these workers also are internal migrants who move across during seasonal variations. Now, one of the issues that come up when we deal with these workers is that how to assess the heat. We heard the very important question about when can they stop work, what sort of heat is there. Now, as occupational hygienists, we find the WBGD process very useful in our work in various industries, where we assess not just the temperature and other elements, but also other factors we take into account. But the thing is, with such resources and the indexes, it is easy to appropriate, applicable to the informal workers. And there are several heat stress indexes that are being used. And one of the factors is that most of them have been developed in the global north with quite different temperature situations. So one of the issues that have come up is that we need to have locally relevant indexes developed with the input of local practitioners and the local stakeholders involved. And the other factor is that the access to these resources is quite limited. So these WBG standards, though very valuable and useful, are quite maybe inappropriate for use in our regions of the Global South. And also the other factors we take in developing these standards about the clothing they wear and other factors. And like these women who are working in northern Sri Lanka as seaweed pickers, they have different needs of dresses for cultural needs and all that. So we need to look at developing well technically backed standards or guidelines that take into account all these other factors that are relevant there. So in conclusion, I want to take a point more looking at from the workers' perspective. Now, a lot of these workers that I had the opportunity spending some time with various workers, fishermen, tea plantation workers, construction workers in this region, and to listening to them, what I understood is that it's not just us as OH professionals who can provide them help, assistance, but we also have something to learn from them to take back. Now, these workers have worked in these occupations for generations, for centuries. For example, the tea plantation workers who were brought in as virtually as slavery from southern India during the colonial times, they still work under the same conditions as that time. So they were workers who were used for in an exploitative economy, and today we can't have them in those similar conditions. So our OHS regulations need to address these issues within them. So a couple of things that we gathered from these workers is over the years, because there was they had to rely on their own resilience, their own innovations to look after them, that they do have certain solutions that we can learn from themselves. For example, with regards to mental health that we talked about, a lot of these cultures have what we call mindfulness as part of their cultural heritage. So what is today very much a major resource for stress management, these workers have been practicing in their societies for many years. So these are things that we need to tap into and use in our own guidance development. Another example from Sri Lanka is with the kidney disease workers. Many of them are being treated by the traditional medicine Ayurvedic systems. So this is something we may have a solution that we may be applicable to workers affected in other areas like Central America. So we mentioned earlier about the ICOH initiatives with the migrant worker statement and the work done on the heat guidance. So there is a working group working on the future of work program and the work with that Diana mentioned with Madri on improving the data collection. And what we want is now to take some action, some local practical action that we can take between our members to progress this. So what we have been doing by a network of some of the ICOH members in the Southern Asian region in the last couple of years is to collaborate and look at some initiatives that we can take and work together on. And one of them is to promote some local protective measures, because some of the measures that we are proposing are not applicable. The resources may not be available there. So what are the local approaches we can take with these?
You need to conclude now.
Sorry?
You need to conclude.
Yeah. Just my last point. And the last point we want to do is to bring some of the responsibilities back to the businesses and supply chains in addressing these challenges. And one of these is the due diligence in business responsibility, the Human Rights in Business Responsibility program. And we are collaborating with some social partners who are working in this area, who want to bring occupational health as part of the business responsibility. So this is a concept that I will be proposing to the ICOH board at our next meeting in Naples in October. And we look forward to work together on this. And if any other members who are interested in working together on this, I'll welcome you to get in touch with us. So thank you, and hope you can have some questions on this.
Thank you. Thank you, Mahinda. Very important. Stay here for a minute, Dr. Vidya. If there are any questions for both the speakers, we can have a quick question, if any, because the next speakers and next session, they are already here, so we'll have to summarize. Yeah, please, if you have a question, please ask. Go to the microphone.
Yeah, so Christopher Davis, I'm with the Institution of Occupational Safety and Health, or ICOH, in the UK. Thank you to you for both of your presentations and to everybody else actually today. It's been really fascinating. The answer to this, I think that you touched on in the last couple of presentations actually to some extent, which is around this kind of pincer effect I can see between policy and advocacy on one side, and then the need for voice, lived experience, and innovation on the other side. And you just spoke a little bit about the fact that there are examples out there of workers being sort of innovative and us being able to maybe tap into those a little bit more. So I guess my question is around that. How do we either develop or reinstate worker voice and worker perspective into these sorts of debates, because it's so important to align with that policy and advocacy at the other end of the spectrum. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's one of the key things I want to was push for it. One of the things is these workers, as I said, are not represented by trade unions or any other organizations. The regulators don't engage with them. So we as occupational health people have to engage with those civil societies. And I think we are missing them at the table when we develop programs. So one of the ways would be to co-design programs and even getting information across to get these people involved to find what's the best way that they want it produced.
I'll just add a point to what Dr. Mahinda said. What he said about like not having those civil societies when we are making the policies for these people is like very right. But the civil societies and these trade unions do hear the voices of all these workers, and but that has to be supported by evidence. So we are looking at the new psychological lens in eco-anxiety because there is lack of evidence in that area and policy requires evidence. So we have to work hand in hand with the workers, with the trade unions, and generate the evidence that is required for policy changes. So I think that's the only way we can try and tackle some of this, at least, if not all.
Thank you both.
Thank you. We don't have much time now because the next speakers and next session, they are already here. I'd like to thank all the speakers, and I'll not summarize because you have all heard them well. But last few comments from my co-chair.
Okay, we should finish here. Thanks to all the speakers and also the attendees joining this symposium. Thank you.
Thank you.